Hey everyone, this is Gavin Snyder, and I just want to talk about and reflect on my final for EDTE 4200. Kind of some back knowledge about it. We had to write three lesson plans and then revise one and kind of reflect on the whole experience. So I'm going to go ahead and share my lesson plan that I decided to revise. So hopefully everybody sees that. I think they can. Um, World History Strand number 14. Trade routes connecting Africa, Europe, and Asia help foster the spread of ideas, technology, goods, major world religions such as Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, and how those impacted the Eastern Hemisphere back then. So we're talking, ancient China is the unit that we were working on. So my mentor and I decided that I would kind of put this lesson together to go along with it. The topic for this lesson is advancements in travel, technology, and ideas that helped ancient China become a powerful empire. So we're talking about the Qin dynasties and things like that. Objectives: students will be able to describe advancements in trading that helped China become a powerful empire. Also, students will identify the advantages of the Silk Road. Vocabulary for the day was Silk Road, obviously. We're talking about that mainly. And then Dynasty, which plays into ancient China. Bronze, which we'll see on the Silk Road, and they're a precious metal and they were a pretty big deal at the time. And then Mongols, which were a large part of the ancient China empires. So in yellow here, I've highlighted the startup activity. I kind of altered it a little bit, but here's what I decided to do because the first time when I actually did the lesson, I have these interactive notebooks that I use for some other lessons, one and two, and I would give handouts, and we'd read them, and then we'd have a little discussion over them, and then they'd put that in their interactive notebook to keep. I thought it was a good idea. I've seen it done before, so they have study material and whatnot to look back on. Um, but decided today or for this revision we were just going to have a lecture and go over things, have some discussion about the importance of literacy and the understanding of trying to distinguish non-native languages. So that's kind of one of my main ties into kind of cross curriculum here. Thinking about this from an English or an English language arts standpoint. You know, we're dealing with different native languages on the Silk Road. It's people from all over the world. It's thousands of miles long. So I kind of wanted to discuss about what could be possibly some of those issues that may arise when doing things like that. The lesson, which the kids really seem to like it, which I was hoping they would because they got candy. So whenever kids get candy, they always are more interested. Um, but start out, each student would be given a piece of candy on the wrapper. The candy will have a country that states where it's from. So it might be, a modern today, where the modern country today is, but it was, the empire, whether it's from China or Africa or wherever it was that traveled the Silk Road. So each candy was from a different place. Then once the students identify where their candy's from, they will go join their peers from the same country as them. So we had some students from the same place in their own part of the room. Countries are specifically locations that were frequently traveled on the Silk Road. So we're kind of just getting the main impacts of the Silk Road here. Um, Students will then take turns as a group traveling to each country as they go along the Silk Road. They're free to barter or trade their candy with someone from a different country that is willing. So we had one group from one country. They would set out on their journey along the Silk Road, and they, hey, oh, you got a Milky Way, so I got a Snickers. You want to trade? Stuff like that. Good example there. Then kind of a revision I made. This is I added this to it. The room is to be decorated in appropriate colors or architecture to represent each country we were working with or traveling to. So originally I just had separate parts of the room, but I thought, what, to make this better, a little more colorful and creative, why don't we decorate some, not the entire room obviously, but some small parts of the room and have some decorations that go along with it that just give it a more creative feel and type. Then after all the students have had an opportunity to travel and trade, they will head back to their country's territory in the room and discuss their goods. Hey, what do you get? Stuff like that. They could trade amongst themselves if they wanted to. Also, then we'll come back together as a class kind of split away from the countries, head back to normal seating, and we'll see who traveled the furthest. So um, somebody may have started here and ended all the way down there, or they only went halfway. They got what they wanted, didn't see anything else. But each student will have a discussion over that, and then we'll see what candy made it the furthest. So I already mapped out the different miles and things like that. So it was cool to see how far like something had traveled, and we related that to the Silk Road and what was real life about how things from the other side of the country or other side of the globe came all the way from here to there. So it was a good way to represent how things were traded and new ideas and practices were learned. Then what I added here, as a class, we'll discuss the possible issues that may arise. So this ties back into the startup activity. Kind of now that they've done the activity, they can see, oh well, maybe this would be an issue. So I thought that was a good way to tie back into the beginning of class. And then at the end of the class, students will just work on their exit tickets. Pretty normal procedure. My modification for IEP students, just time extensions for the work if they need it. Materials needed, the appropriate amount of candy. Can't have short candy. Post-it notes to put on the candy wrappers. PowerPoint lecture to kind of go along with the startup activity, and then exit tickets, obviously, and then we also need some decorations and stuff to color up the room. Post assessment, students will be assessed through an in-class assignment that asks them to fill out their individual information of where they started on the Silk Road, and then they'll answer questions concerning the benefits of the Silk Road and how this helped ancient Chinese empires. So that'll kind of be like the next day thing. We got kind of so caught up into the activity and what we were doing, so I just push this back and we'll do it the next day. It should still be fresh on their minds, and it seemed like they enjoyed it, so they should have been really engaged and remember this. Then at the bottom, just to round out this lesson plan, the future test question connection. What could be expected to see being traded while traveling the Silk Road? Select all that apply. So we obviously have silk. That's definitely going to be on there. Rubber. This kind of caught some of them because we kind of went over these real quick, even though they weren't for a grade or anything. But rubber they thought might be on there, but it actually wasn't. Just not invented yet. But then precious metals ties back into our vocabulary with bronze and things like that is a pretty big deal. Light bulbs, everybody did pretty good. They understood that electricity hadn't been invented, so we didn't need light bulbs. And then paintings, some were kind of iffy on this. It was about 50-50, but paintings were exchanged and traded on the Silk Road. So I'll stop that share. And that's my revision. I thought it was good to get feedback from my mentor and professor, and then even a student, because the students, they're the ones that are supposed to be learning the most from this. So it was good to hear feedback from all that.